freedom to roam. Now you're saying to yourself, what is he talking about, freedom to roam? Have you ever wondered why the United States is wandering all over God's little green acre, sticking its nose in everybody's business? It's not simply because the United States is so powerful. It's also because we are free to roam. And we are free to roam because we have no security threats in our own backyard. And what the United States cares about greatly is not allowing a situation to develop where a country dominates Asia or dominates Europe the way we dominate the Western Hemisphere, because it will then be free to roam. Think about the United States and Asia roaming up and down the Chinese coast, troops stationed right off the Chinese mainland, aircraft carrier battle groups steaming into the waters right off the Chinese coast, American aircraft running up and down the Chinese coast. Think about all the troops we have had since 1944 in Europe, and keep there today, right? We're free to roam. We don't have to worry about security threats here. What is an ideal situation from an American point of view is to have a situation where China or Germany or the Soviet Union have to worry about threats in their backyard so that they're not free to roam. So my bottom line in my theoretical discussion is that the best way to survive in the international system is to, number one, be a regional hegemon, dominate your region of the globe, and two, make sure that nobody else dominates their region of the globe the way you dominate yours. Those are the two goals. Now, I want to give you a synoptic view of American foreign policy since 1783. When the United States first got started, in the late 1700s, it was comprised of 13 measly colonies strung out along the Atlantic seaboard. The Founding Fathers and their successors marched across North America to the Pacific Ocean. They murdered huge numbers of Native Americans who got in their way. They stole their land. What is today the southwest of the United States, we stole from Mexico. As you Canadians know, we had our gun sights on you throughout most of the 19th century. In 1812, we paid you a visit because we wanted to make you part of us. You worried throughout the century that there would be a return visit. One of the main reasons that Ottawa is today the capital of Canada and it's not Toronto is that Ottawa is far away from the border with the United States and Toronto is right up next to it. And you did expect us to pay a return visit, and for good reason. You knew we had a voracious appetite. You understand that there's no country in modern history that has a record of conquest that even comes close to approximating ours. And we were not only interested in coming to the north and taking you over, we were also interested in going further south. And in fact, we'd own all the Caribbean now if it hadn't been for the slavery issue. Northern states did not want more slave-holding states in the Union, and of course the sugar industry, which was in the Caribbean, was even more labor-intensive than tobacco and cotton. So there were more slaves down there, and there was no way the northern states would tolerate us incorporating those areas into the United States, but we had our gun sights on them. We wanted to establish hegemony in the Western Hemisphere. And the best way to do that, the first thing we had to do was we had to carve out this powerful state. And of course that was done by 1853 with the Gatson Purchase, which was the last conquest of, or acquisition of territory here in North America. The other thing we had to do was we had to get rid of the British and the Spanish and all those Europeans. As many of you know, in 1823, old President James Monroe told the Europeans, in no uncertain terms, this is our hemisphere. We're not strong enough to throw you out now. We're eventually going to throw you out. And after we throw you out, you're not welcome back here, because this is our hemisphere. In 1898, with the Spanish-American War, we finally finished the deal. We threw the Spanish out, and we were a regional hegemon. first regional hegemon in modern history. We dominated and continued to dominate the entire Western Hemisphere. Now, as I told you, great powers have two goals. One is to establish regional hegemony, and number two, make sure you don't have a peer competitor. Fortunately, there were no potential peer competitors in the 19th century when we were in the process of establishing hegemony here in the Western Hemisphere. But in the 20th century, there were four potential peer competitors: Imperial Germany, Imperial Japan, Nazi Germany, and the Soviet Union. As you all know, the United States played a critical role in putting all four of those countries on the scrap heap of history. We entered World War I in April 1917 at a point where it looked like Germany might actually win the war, and we played an important role, certainly not the key role, but we played an important role in helping to finish off Kaiser Bill and company. Then in World War II, we basically beat the Japanese single-handedly. In fact, it was with our left hand, and we were right-handed. And we played a key role in defeating the Nazi Germany, but of course the Soviet Union played the most important role there, but we helped. And then during the Cold War, we played the central role in containing the Soviet Union. And in 1989, 1990, 1991, when the Cold War was ending and the Soviet Union was going down the toilet bowl, we helped usher it away. Very glad to do that. The United States does not tolerate peer competitors. It's always glad to get rid of them. And shortly after the Soviet Union disappeared, the Bush administration made it clear that we were number one in the world, and we planned on staying that way. So what I'm telling you is that if you look at my basic theory, and you look at how American foreign policy has actually been since 1783, not the story that Americans tell, you know, the story that Americans tell about what a wonderful liberal state we are and so forth and so on. I mean, it's nonsense, right? This is a state that Adolf Hitler admired. He said, these people know how to create Lebensraum. Right? This is the real America, right? This is why Canadians lived in fear throughout the 19th century. But anyway, my point to you is that American foreign policy, when looked at correctly, looks very much like my theory says it should.